We're going to continue talking about slope. Yesterday we discussed how we find it from a graph, and today we're going to discuss how we do this view about slope. All right, the steepness of a line is called slope. All right, so the steepness of a line is called slope. And if you were given three different lines right there, and it said circle the line with the biggest slope. That means the steepest. Think about a mountain. Which mountain would you not want to be climbing? Okay, this one right here, hopefully, is the one that you would have identified as our steepest slope. So the letter that we use for slope, and you're going to see this used a lot, is a lowercase m. Okay, and little fact, it comes from the French word monter, which means to climb or rise. So, what is slope? Slope is rise over run. You've heard rise over run repetitively over, hopefully, 8th grade. So, slope is the ratio of a line's vertical. That's your rise. Vertical will be your rise change to its horizontal change. And that's what we are referring to when we say rise over run. So this is what we talked about yesterday. Okay? If you have a graph, you can identify it from marking some points. So again, we want to make our life easier. We're going to find points that are at whole numbers. So I'm going to use my y-intercept, and I'm also going to use my x-intercept. Those are terms you're going to see a lot more in the future. So when I do this, I am going to go ahead and I start from my point to the left. We read a graph from the left to the right. All right, so I am going from my left, and I rise, right? I rise 1, okay? And what you should notice is when I went up, okay, as I went up, I wrote a positive 1. If I was to be going down, that would be a negative value. And I run 2 boxes. So the slope of this is 1 over 2. It is a half. All right. So as you can see in the graph on the very bottom, these are all representations of the graph we just did. It's important for you to understand that no matter what points we choose, okay, we're going to get the same slope. Even though these fractions look different, we know when we simplify all of these, it comes out to be a half. So no matter which 2 points you choose on the graph, you are going to end up with the same fraction, all right, your same slope. But what do I do if I don't have a graph provided to me? That's what we're going to cover today. So sometimes we don't have a graph given to us, all right? So instead, we're going to be given 2 coordinate points. And when we have our coordinate points, okay, and we call them x1, y1, x2, y2, that's a fancy way of saying your first coordinate point and your second coordinate point. We are going to use our slope formula, right? And what that is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. All right, well, what that's telling you is it's the change in your y values over your change in your x values. And again, that makes sense because what we just said is slope is rise over run. Okay, so the y value will be your rise and your x value is your run. So we're going to go ahead and do one of those examples. So here we go. We've got -4, 1, and 2, 3. What I want you to get in the habit of doing in the beginning is labeling it. This is my first coordinate point, so that's x1, y1. My second coordinate point, x2, y2. All right, and at that point, we go ahead and we put it into this formula that we just wrote. So I have 3 minus 1, and then I have 2 minus, I'm going to put parentheses, -4. If you're in my class, you probably have heard me say that I hate double signs. I'm not a fan of double signs. So we're going to rewrite this. 3 minus 1 minus a negative is plus. So this is 2 plus 4. 3 minus 1 gives me 2. Right? 2 plus 4 gives me 6. Your slope has to be represented in simplified form. So we are going to simplify. 2 goes into itself 1 time. 2 goes into 6 3 times. Your slope is 1/3. So if we were to take a look at what we did and connect it back to our last video where we did slope from a graph. If you look at 3 minus 1, all right, 3 minus 1 is looking at your change in your rise, your y value. Okay, so that is what your 3 minus 1 is. And as you can see, that is 2 boxes. All right, my 2 minus -4 is my change in my x values. That is your run. So what we're doing is mathematically finding the change in those boxes. So we're going to go ahead and look at a few of these fractions. One of the things that some of us struggle with is simplifying our fractions. So if we take a look at this, we're going to go ahead and quickly go through how to simplify some of these. Again, -3/9. -3 is going to go into itself 1 time. Notice how I wrote that negative up front. Okay, your negative fraction is going to simplify to be a negative. All right, only do I change signs when I have double negatives. All right, 3 goes into 9 3 times. You're done. 4 and 10. All right, 4 is not going to go into 10. So you're not going to be simplifying 4 into itself. You're going to think both 4 and 10 are even numbers. So 2 goes into 4 2 times. 2 goes into 10 5 times. 4 over 1. Remember, every whole number is written over 1. We just don't usually write it. But it's important for you to understand that for slope. All right, especially if I'm graphing 4, we need to understand it's 4 over 1. -1 over 7, similar is -7. 2/3, look, you've got 2 negatives, and we know 2 negatives become a positive. Same thing, 2 negatives become. So, these here, you're going to notice we just rewrite with our negative up front. Not a big deal. This is the fun stuff. We always get mixed up with the 0 and whether or not we have 0 or undefined. If you have a calculator, you can obviously check it. 0 over 12 is going to simplify to be 0. All right, 0 over -2 is 0. 12 over 0, this is undefined, which is exactly what -2 over 0 also is. Let me give you a little trick to remember that. When 0 is in the numerator, that is okay. All right, when 0 is in the numerator, that is okay. When 0 in the denominator, that is a no. Okay, you are going to get undefined. That is a no. You are not allowed to have 0 in your denominator. So we're going to go ahead and do 2 problems from the bottom, and then the other 4 will be your practice. So let's go ahead and do the first one. All right, again, we go ahead, we got x1, y1, x2, y2. We're going to go ahead and plug it into that formula up top. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Remember, we would write this as a positive. Minus a negative becomes a positive. So 2 plus 1 is 3. 6 minus 4 is 2. And if we take a look at that, that fraction is simplified. So we are done. All right, let's go ahead and just do the next one. All right, again, x1, y1, x2, y2. As you get more comfortable with it, you won't have to write those, and that's fine. So we have 3 minus -2. Don't drop signs. It's going to be our biggest issue. And then 4 minus 3. Minus a negative becomes a plus. So 3 plus 2 is 5. 4 minus 3 is 1. Your simplified answer is 5. So you're going to go ahead and finish up those 4 for your homework tonight. Make sure if there's anything that we don't understand, you ask questions about it tomorrow, and remember to put your final answer in simplified form. Have a good day.